Hi, I'm Dan Nicholl, and I'm at the start of a really exciting journey with Mercedes-Benz and electric vehicles. Now, these are vehicles I don't know a huge amount about. I'm fascinated about what they are, what they might be, what they might offer me. Are they as quick as cars I've driven before? Are they really that sustainable? What's the cost going to be like? And how, in a country where electricity has been a point of conversation and not always for the right reasons for a number of years now, how am I going to charge this car? Is it easy to do? These are all things I want to find out. So there's a touch of skepticism, but there is also genuine excitement at what this journey might hold. So to guide me onto my route towards electric vehicles, I decided to catch up with a few friends who I know far more about them than I do and who've already had the experience. So along with a selection of the friends of the brand of Mercedes-Benz, I'm catching up with a couple of motoring journalists who know a lot about vehicles and know exactly what the electric vehicles have said to them in their experience so far. And then probably most importantly, the lady who knows more about Mercedes-Benz electric vehicles than anybody in South Africa. I'm really excited about this. It's a really cool journey to take, and there's some seriously cool cars on my horizon. I've still got one or two questions. I still need to be convinced. And if anybody's going to convince me, it's a salesperson, which is exactly why Tamlynn Naidu is with me. Tammy, it's lovely to have you along to convince me that this is the way for me to go, because it's a space I really don't know that much about. I'm yet to get behind the wheel of an electric vehicle. I'm very excited to do so. How challenging was it? How nerve-wracking was it for you when all of a sudden electric became part of your portfolio and you had to yourself discover this whole new world of driving?
Well, it was very scary I think I speak for all sales executives, but the first time I drove an electric vehicle was the EQE 43 in Madrid about 2 years ago, and I just got back to the dealership and I was like, wow guys, I have never seen a performance vehicle that has got zero turbo lag. When you put your foot down, it goes. So yes, it was, I think from our perspective, it was very scary, but now that we're in the space and there's a lot of our competitors that are in the space as well, we definitely have got a lot more knowledge around the product, and it's much easier to sell because everybody wants to move towards sustainable living. I drove an electric vehicle myself for a couple of months, and I mean, it was just so simple. Charging was so simple, you know, getting from A to B was so simple. If you're in an emergency and you need to fill up your tank quickly, that was quite simple as well, because you just go plug it in for 45 minutes and it's charged in full at one of our public charging stations. So I think that there's a lot of, I know that there's a lot of charging stations around South Africa. In actual fact, we've got 82 grid cars charging stations around South Africa. So the ease and user friendliness of the vehicle is definitely there.